Good morning or good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to this morning's session. We will begin in a few minutes. Just getting set up here. Good morning, Sharon. Welcome. If you're just joining, we will be starting right around just after 10 a.m. We're going to give people a couple more minutes to join. So just stay tuned and we'll begin soon. Hey, good morning, good afternoon, Fred. Good to see you. Welcome. Just while we're waiting for everyone to join, where's everyone joining from today? If you're on Facebook, I'd love to type in the chat. If you're on Zoom, you can type in the chat as well. Just curious where everyone's joining us from today. Syracuse, New York. All right, one on the East Coast. Nice. Never been there myself. Sharon from Louisiana near New Orleans. Awesome. Fred's from Facebook. Hey, Katrina from North Texas. Welcome again. Good to see you. Hey, George. Welcome. Oh, I see lots of familiar names joining today. Love it. All right, Fred from Connecticut. Lots of no one on the West Coast yet. Feeling lonely over here. All right, let's give it a couple more minutes here. Thank you for joining early. Hey, Maureen from the Chicago Burbs. Love it there. One of my favorite places to visit. I'm based in Canada, and Portillo's is a something I look forward to every single time I go to the Midwest. Awesome. Got Florida. Hey, everyone. Awesome. All right, all right, I think we're gonna get started here, everyone. Welcome. Love seeing everyone joining in on the chat, sharing where they're from. Love seeing everyone from all over the country. We will get started here. So thanks for everyone joining today. So I'll do a quick introduction. My name is Keith Hawken. I'm the Senior Director of Sales and Marketing at Top Producer. Been with Top Producer and in the real estate tech space for over 20 years. And so my goal today is to share with you some tips, tricks, strategies to ultimately help you convert more leads. My goal here today is that you will take away things that, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4 things, even if you take away one that you can apply to help you get more out of those people that you're acquiring through a variety of different avenues. So if you have any questions, you can type them in the chat. I know we've got about half of the audience is watching live on Facebook, the other half is in Zoom. So I'll do my best to answer questions. But with that being said, we will get started. And so hopefully everyone can hear me loud and clear and see my screen. All right, let's get going here. So the first thing I want to acknowledge is Online leads are awesome, right? They're available. You can get them anywhere. You can drive them off your own website. You can go to the portals. You can, get them from wherever. But they are tough to manage. And there's so many different sources of where you can acquire. I hate to say it, strangers. Okay, like the one thing we should acknowledge is that online leads are strangers. They are people that are interested in real estate. They give you their contact info. You're a stranger as much as they're a stranger. And so the hard part with it is you have to build a relationship. And what we're going to go through today is how do we do that, right? What are some key things that you need to be doing today to ultimately increase your odds of turning that name and email address and phone number into a transaction, a relationship? So the first thing I want to start off is right at the very beginning is, the reality of it is look, the competition has increased, right? You're not the only person getting that name and email address. Data has shown that consumers are going to go to, I'm going to use an example, they might go to realtor.com, inquire on one property. They may inquire on another property on realtor.com. They may go to realtor.com and then go to Zillow, or they may go to your website or go to your broker's website. They're going all over the place. So the competition is there. You have to assume that every name and email address and phone number you collect from as an online lead potentially has also some other agent in your marketplace also has them. So I guarantee you the competition is fierce. We talked about most consumers submitting leads on multiple sites. The other big factor, and this might be shocking to you, a large percentage of online inquiries go unresponded to. A consumer might go to a website and say, hey, I'm interested in more information on 1234 Main Street, and then they never hear back. And so, we talk about this multiple site thing. What are they doing? Then they're going to go to another site and do the same thing. So that's an opportunity for you. And I'm going to show you how you don't fall into that category and how you can increase your odds there. If they did respond, it was pretty slow. Consumers today expectations are, they expect rapid response. So, to see someone raise their hand and say, hey, I'm interested in this property, or they started their home search and then they don't hear from anyone for 15 hours, they probably forgot. They forgot what they did. They forgot they were looking at. They forgot that moment in time. I can't remember what I did yesterday at this time. I can't remember what site I was looking at or what I might have been inquiring on. So there's an opportunity there is to catch them while the iron's hot. And then, those leads that were followed up were not followed up quick enough. And then the last thing about it, look, I know they're frustrating. For every real person you get, you're probably getting 5 Donald Ducks or Jim Smith, or something like that where there's fake information. So, the reality of it is there's all of these things that make online leads challenging. It's not just one thing, it's the combination of all. So what can we do to ultimately help you make the most out of those people, those strangers that you're acquiring? So the first one is, and this is really at the very top, you have to respond right away. You've probably heard this 100 times. I'm not probably the first person to tell you this, but you have to either respond quickly or have a tool that's going to respond quickly. The first impression matters here. So, let's play through this for a minute. I just said that leads are competitive. That means that you have to assume that that person is also inquired elsewhere. How do you get to them before your competitor? You have to beat them to it, right? You have to make that first impression. You have to be the first to engage that person and offer your expertise and help them on their inquiry, help them through their journey that they're going on. I can't stress enough, the first impression is the most one. This dictates where that opportunity is going to go. If we don't make a good first impression and someone else does, we've lost. So it starts right here. So a couple of things that you need to think about. One is, are you able to, are you set up right now that if someone was to inquire on one of your properties, go to your website, if you're acquiring leads, are you set up where you can get to that person within minutes? Or you have someone within your team, if you're part of a team that can do it, right? The data shows this, is if you can get back to someone within 5 minutes versus 30 minutes, your odds of actually connecting with them go up 100 times. Now, this isn't converting, this isn't qualifying, but your odds of contacting them. So actually having a conversation. Like imagine this, I'm on your website right now. I find a home I'm interested in, I hit submit. Within 5 minutes, you've reached out to me. That's a pretty great experience. And the chance of you and I having a conversation are very likely, okay? So think about that, right? Is if you are not able to do that yourself, there's technology that can do that for you, right? So either you have to be in a position to say, I can get back to every inquiry within minutes. And if you can't, you need to hire technology to do that for you. And the benefit of this is you're able to, by increasing your contact rate, your qualification rate also goes up 21%, right? So, you know, those are this again is beating the odds, right? How do you increase your odds in your favor versus your competitor? How do you increase your odds of getting an ROI out of that money you're spending? So first one, make an awesome first impression. Either figure out a way to do it manually, and if you can't, find technology to do it for you, okay? And that also is one of the areas where like our tech, where we built 5 Street out of, was around that initial kind of first impression. Okay, number 2, we got this lead. I've got this new name. What's next? You've responded quickly. I will tell you that response and making that first impression is just the beginning. This is a marathon, it's not a race. So a couple things. You need to have a CRM. So if you don't use a CRM, step 2 is get a CRM. Microsoft Excel, not a CRM, that's a spreadsheet. You need a CRM. And then what I want you to think about is what's next. So you've sent out that initial response, is I want you to use the triplet approach. So let me explain to you what the triplet approach is to follow up. It's not just having an auto text go out of a system. It's not just a one attempt with one method. You need to use multiple methods. So I'll give you an example of the triplet approach. Let's say I get a new lead off of one of my listings. I have a system that sends out an auto text and just says, hey, thanks for your inquiry. I'm busy right now, I'll get back to you. Okay, that's great. But then now I'm in a position to actually follow up. What's the triplet approach? The triplet approach is phone call. If you talk to them, awesome. The triplet approach is over. If you don't talk to them, leave them a voicemail. Do not call them and not leave them a voicemail. Leave them a voicemail. And then the third thing is send them an email. If you do all 3 of those things within like a couple of minutes, they all hit at the same time. So the triplet approach is call, voicemail, email. Don't do one, do all 3. You will be astonished at how much that will increase your connect rate through one of those methods, because you don't know what method that consumer prefers. They may prefer text messaging. They may prefer to talk to somebody. They may prefer to email you. Don't assume that one over the other, just do them all. You'll be shocked at your increase rate, what your connect rate will go up to it. The other reason that you need a CRM is you need to build out a process, right? So we're starting to talk about our process right now, but how are you actually going to do this? You need to build this into your CRM. So it's like step 1, auto response. Step 2, call, email, voicemail. Step 3, which we're going to talk about as we go through this. But yeah, again, use the triplet approach. It is one of the things that will be a big difference. Don't just use one approach. Okay. And again, if anyone has questions, go ahead and type in the chat. I will happily stop and ask questions. The next one is, not every day or every time of day is the best time to try and reach a lead. You know, leads do come in at all hours of the day. They come in at inopportune times. If you're struggling to get in touch with somebody, try this. Okay, so try this. Here's what one thing I want everyone to do after this, right? Is today, between 4 and 5 p.m. So Wednesdays and Thursdays are the best days. Between 4 and 5 p.m., go back and reach out to some of your leads that are cold, right? Go back and just see if you can reach some of those. So I'm sure a bunch of you have a bunch of cold leads right now in your database. Today or tomorrow, between these hours, reach out to them and just see. So you'll be surprised. So schedule your calls to optimize your follow-up. So what studies have shown, Wednesdays and Thursdays are the best days. 8 and 9 or 4 and 5 are the best times to reach somebody, right? Really interesting, but I think this is kind of like, speaks to the fact that you might catch people at work, not at work. Just it's interesting data that I find valuable. So something to try. There is a couple of questions here, so I'm just going to pause for a minute. So the first one came from Sharon. Sharon asked, will you show how to set up an auto text? I don't believe I will be going into how to set that up, but I'm sure we have an article that can be shared on how to do that. And then Paul asked, what does CRM stand for? Or sorry, not Paul, Patty, my eyes were deceiving me, asked, what does CRM stand for? CRM stands for Client Relationship Manager or Contact Relationship Manager, whatever, Customer Relationship Manager. I mean, it's all the same. So that's what CRM stands for. Okay, so tip number 3, try different times of day if you're struggling to reach out to somebody. So try the morning time between 8 and 9, try the evening before dinner, 4 to 5, try Wednesdays and Thursdays. Maybe after today, some of you will be, by the time this is over, 4 and 5 East Coast time, try reaching out to a couple of leads and see if you can connect. I'm sure you have some people in your database that it's not working. Okay, moving on to the next one. Overcoming objections. So just before I go through this, how often does this happen to you? You get this person, you call them, and they say, I'm just looking. Does that ring a bell to anybody on here today? Anyone watching? I'm curious. Right? You call somebody up and they're like, oh, I'm just looking. Probably happens to all of you. Right? Because people will, I do that to people. I'm like, oh, I'm just looking, right? And it's like, how do you overcome that? Right? And what it is what you have to think about when people say to you, I'm just looking, is that's a false objection, right? Most people aren't just looking, right? If I'm going to give you my name, my email address, my phone number, that means I am a little bit further along than just looking, right? So how do you overcome that? So one way, what you could say is, hey, that's great. What are you just looking for? Right? And then you kind of bring in your expertise, right? How you can help them, because at the end of the day, someone that's just looking probably could use your help and your expertise. Hey, has anyone ever walked you through the buying process? Would love to meet with you to review the process so that when you're ready, you're got everything you need to kind of go through that process, right? But a great rebuttal right out of the gate is, hey, that's great. What are you just looking for? Right? And then you bring in your expertise, like how you can add value for them. And it's a simple question. It's like, hey, has anyone ever actually walked you through this process? Because that's something that you can do. That is where, we need a realtor to help us through that process, because that process is complicated. And that's your area of expertise. So that's one way you can overcome one of that objection. Try it out next time someone says, I'm just looking, and see how it works for you. The other one says, oh yeah, I'm not ready to buy until 12 months down the road, right? Probably hear that one too. So it's like objection 1 is, oh, I'm just looking, and the other version is, oh, I'm not ready right now, right? So an easy way to handle that one is just, hey, okay, great. So tell me what happens then. What is different than today than a year? Because what you're trying to do is understand the roadblock. Why is now not a good time, right? How can I help you, right? And understanding the hurdle that it's going to take for someone to transact now versus tomorrow, versus a year from now. So just something you can challenge is don't just accept that. These are objections, and part of your job when converting leads is to objection handle. And these are just a couple ideas. These are not my, hey, this is going to be like the game changer for you. These are just a couple of ideas that you can apply to help you overcome some of these common objections that you probably hear. All right, next one. So let's say that you've now qualified them. So you understand, their needs are, you've done needs analysis, you understand like, oh, I'm a buyer, I'm looking for this home. I'm looking for this, but I'm ready to buy in 3 months, 6 months, 12 months, whatever it might be. Consistency is key with all leads, right? You need to nurture them based on what you've qualified them on. So an example of that is you have a buyer and they do say, hey, I'm not ready for a year. Your job now is how are you going to maintain relevance and showcase your expertise and help them over the next 12 months to prepare for when they are ready. And the biggest thing is you have to be consistent, right? So put in a plan and make sure you have a strategy that says, okay, if anyone's going to be like long-term, here is how I'm going to maintain relevance, how I'm going to be consistent, how I'm going to showcase my value. And one of the best ways you can do that is providing value, right? So if you want to, one of the things that I love, so like one thing my realtor does is he keeps me in the loop on what's going on in the marketplace. We just bought a new house. I just moved into my new house like last weekend. We went through this process in March. But the one thing my realtor did prior to that was just keep me educated on what was going on in the marketplace, what was selling in my current neighborhood and what was coming on the market in the neighborhood we wanted to move. And I would ultimately say that pushed us over the ledge to transact now, because everything was like, wow, okay, this is the best time to sell, not the best time to buy, but gosh, when is the homes that are coming on the market, they may never come back on the market. And that's where you can really add value. So use things like, a lot of you are top producer users on here today. Leverage your market snapshot. Send those market reports, subscribe people to sold alerts, just listed alerts, price change alerts, so that they can stay up on what's going on. You'd be shocked at how valuable that information is. I love the sold alerts as a homeowner. The fact that my realtor tells me when a house sells in my neighborhood and how much it's sold for, it's awesome, right? I love that I can see what's going on in my local market. So showcase your value, but always provide value. That's the biggest tip. And always have a plan for those people. Okay. One other thing too, when it comes to this, is I mentioned to you that this is a marathon, not a sprint, right? It's not. You cannot just follow up once. You cannot just follow up twice. You cannot just follow up 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times, 7 times, 8 times. You need to be persistent. So the big couple of tips here. One is don't give up. Okay. So don't just do that one attempt. You do the triplet approach one time. That's not enough. We need to do it again a week later if you haven't heard back. You need to add, some other, follow-ups within there. Because ultimately what you're trying to do, and we're going to talk about this, as much as you're trying to qualify the lead, you're also trying to disqualify the lead. Like there is going to be a point, which we're going to talk about in a minute, where you're going to disqualify that person. They're just not an opportunity. But the one thing that you need to do is be persistent. Don't give up. You would be shocked that you could follow up with somebody 8 times and not talk to them, and then attempt 9, you connect with them and you have a conversation and they turn into an opportunity. And this comes back to having a plan, making sure that you have a system to help you stay in touch with these people so that you can be persistent, that, your new leads that come in, it's like day 1, day 2, day 3, day 7. Here's a couple of simple scripts that you could use for texting. So just a couple ideas on, you've got, I'm sure a bunch of you have cold leads in your database right now that you haven't talked to. So here's a couple of scripts. So for seller leads, hey Sharon, more homes just sold in your area. Want me to send you a report, tell you what's going on in the neighborhood? It could be a simple one, just like, hey, would you like to know what's going on? I would like to provide value to you. And then for buyer leads, hey Tim, new homes just hit the market. Think you'll love, make the assumptive close. Want me to set up a time for you to see them, right? You'd be shocked that people are like, oh no, we're not ready, or you might hear from them because you're asking them a question. That's the biggest tip here. These scripts can be whatever you want, but the one thing you'll notice for both of them is they end with a question. So another thing to think about is, what do you want them to do? So if you're going to send someone a text, what are you hoping they do? You want them to respond. How do you get them to respond? You ask them a question. So another tip. Okay. And then the last one that I want to talk about today, and we're doing really well here. So I try to keep my sessions at 30 minutes and we're right on time. So the last one I want you to think about, another tip that you can use. You might be shocked, but the last one is break up. Okay. There are leads that you have in your database right now that you should have probably broken up with a year ago, 6 months ago. And it's funny for me to say this, but you need to break up with some of these people, okay? Because you're just wasting your time. They're not going to buy. You haven't heard from them. They've gone cold. They've gone quiet. Why do you still have them, right? What's going to change? So last one is break up. And there's a couple of positives for this. One is disqualifying a lead ultimately means that you can just focus on the ones that matter. Okay. You know, there's no reason to carry a lead for a year, 2 years if you've never talked to them. So, you know, for sometimes it's just time to move on. Declutter your pipeline, right? You know, you have a CRM. Don't just have like thousands of people in there and it's going to make it really hard on you. So clear away the cobwebs will actually really let you understand what your opportunity pipeline really looks like. Like, how real is it? And then one idea that I have for you in this area is send a breakup email. That's what we call it. We call it a breakup email. And what a breakup email is basically just saying, hey, I'm done here, right? So here's an example of one. It's a little bit of humor in it, but you could send this email. Subject line is, I guess this is goodbye. And it's like, hey, you know, George, I've reached out to you a few times over the past couple months to discuss your real estate needs, but it's starting to feel a little lonely over here. And then you have a little, you know, Millhouse playing by himself, and it just says, hey, if you're still interested in discussing the real estate market or feel extremely sad that I can relate to Millhouse playing for Isabel alone, let's reconnect. If not, I guess it's really goodbye. You would be shocked at how many people will reply to this email. It is a strategy that works extremely well because then they feel guilty. There's a little bit of guilt and it gets them to respond. And this is just an example, you know, if you're not, this is not you, right? Is, you know, add a little humor into it. Maybe you write your own version of the takeaway, right? But you would be shocked at how something like this just adds a little bit of humor to the process. And it's like, they're going to open it, right? Like if I got an email that says, I guess this is goodbye, I'm going to look at it. That's the subject line. So this is just another strategy that you can deploy that, you know, there are leads in your database right now that you need to break up with. Everyone has them. So, okay, so that's kind of over our kind of tips and strategies. So I just want to kind of recap really quickly. Oops, sorry. So a couple of things I want to recap really quickly in kind of a summary. One is make a good first impression. So follow up quickly. You either have to do it yourself or use technology to do it for you. So again, top producer, we have technology that can help you do that part. 2, use multiple contact methods. So on that end, so you have the quick response, then you have the actual follow-up of yourself. Use multiple contact methods, incorporate call, voicemail, email, text into your sequencing. And in some cases, use all 4 of those things or 3 of those things at the same time. It has a big impact when, you know, if someone called me, left me a voicemail and sent me an email, like you'd be shocked at how well that helps the connect rate. Number 3 is have a strategy for that long-term, you know, make sure you have tools and a way to engage people with value, right? A lot of you, I hope, use our market snapshot reports with listening alerts to help you, you know, provide value and keep people informed on what's going on. And, you know, that's a big one as well. So think about what your strategy is for, you know, those long-term people. The other one is be persistent, right? I would say, like, don't give up until you've reached, don't start to wonder if you should break up until probably 10, 12 attempts, right? That's when you should start thinking about, okay, am I just wasting my time here? So be persistent. Don't give up after first try, second try, third try. I would say 10 to 12 is probably a good area that you may want to consider. And then the last one is break up with people that are just not responsive to you, that aren't showing any engagement with you. You know, there's no point in you wasting minutes of your day chasing people that aren't going to be opportunities for yourself. So I'm gonna, so I just want to pause there and take any questions. So right, this is Q&A session that you guys can now ask me the questions. I hope, out of the prepared content that there's some ideas in here that you can apply. That there's a couple things that you wrote down that you're like, okay, that's a good idea, I'm gonna do that. And I would love to hear about your results. So I hope, if all of you are on our Facebook page, love to know, someone, I'd love to hear some stories of people like, gosh, I attended Keith's webinar and I did this and it worked, and I got a deal. So that being said, I'm going to turn this over to Q&A. So let me see what questions I've missed here. Okay, so the first one is from Sharon. I do not have 5 Street use CRM. I use CRM. Yeah, so Sharon, I do get leads, text on my phone and emails. I need to put these leads in my CRM. Yeah, and if you said you have Top Producer, we can help you get all those leads into your CRM. So one of the things that Top Producer has is the ability to consolidate all of your leads from wherever you're getting them from. So we work with hundreds of third-party lead sources. So if you don't have that set up yet, just reach out to our customer care team and they can assist you with getting that all configured where all of your leads auto-populate into your CRM. Laura says, Top Producer has some action plans. There's some you would just have to apply to leads? Yeah, I would say there are, but I would also say, like, to be honest, the best thing to do is build your own. So the ability, like, I would really just kind of map out your process. There's a couple there that could be a good starting point. But I would also make my own. And then what I will promise this is maybe I will build one for all of you. How about that? As like an opportunity, as a follow-up. I'll put one in Top Producer for everybody. So let me see if I can do that with the product team. Sharon, is that through Top Producer or this 5 Street? Through Top Producer. So Top Producer itself has the ability to consolidate leads from all third-party lead sources. All right, and I'm just going to keep it going here. Let's see here, chat. Okay. Any other questions, comments about today's thing? I know we're reaching the 30-minute mark, and so we try to keep these short and impactful, where a lot of great ideas in a short amount of time, so that we be respectful of your time. Just as a quick follow-up, if you have any questions about this content, any questions about Top Producer software, anything about, hey, Keith talked about this, how do I do that with Top Producer? You can reach out to us at this phone number. You can also shoot an email to learnmore@topproducer.com. And also, if you did attend this session, it was recorded and will be available to replay on our Facebook page. So for those of you that are not part of our Facebook community, highly recommend you go join our page. And this was recorded and will be available for play after. And Mike asked, can the slideshow be emailed to me? I could look at PDFing this and send you a note, absolutely. Or making it available on our blog. So we'll figure out a way to do that for everybody. Any last minute questions? Yeah, maybe, hey, Christine, can you post in the chat a link to our Facebook page? Yeah, so just again on that, this session is recorded and will be available as a recording to watch on our Facebook page. So if you were like, oh, I remember Keith said something, what was it? There's a link to our Facebook page. And yeah, Sharon, Christine can email you the links that she was sharing, no problem. Okay, everyone. Well, thank you for this. Thanks for spending 30 minutes. I hope you took away a couple of takeaways that you can apply to your business to ultimately help you convert more leads. That is the goal of this session, is to just share some ideas and strategies that you can employ, including some scripts. So try out some of those scripts. And I wish everyone a really successful rest of your week and month. And I hope everyone has a great summer. And thank you again for attending. Take care, everyone.